don't expect much from Aguero after over a month out. And to be honest, I don't see us winning unless Pep learned his lesson from the first game. Zach says it always takes Aguero a few games to get going after injury. Sterling seems off the pace the last few games. I don't feel good about this game tonight. If we're going to win this, De Bruyne and Mahrez will have to drag us through. That's an interesting point, though, people are making there. Because it is true, it can take him a little bit of a while to get going again, Aguero. And you've got City fans there alluding to the fact the likes of De Bruyne, Mahrez are going to have to be the key men tonight.
Yeah, but as football fans being nervous about their team against a team who are very, very good, that's all that is. They're a fantastic team. They're one of the best teams in Europe. And if they fancy it tonight, which they do most games, then they can put these to bed easily. But as I said, it's a game. They're two very, very good teams, and Man City have got some exceptional talent. And so we're trying to criticise Sergio Aguero.
It's what us football fans do, Steve. Ever the cynics.
Ever the cynics. Yeah. He's brilliant, and it's not about one player in Manchester City's team. I think that's what makes them so good.
I guess that's the other thing, because we say the kind of hole there would be if Aguero was taken out of this team. You've seen the kind of hole Hazard's left in that Chelsea team. But the thing about City is you've got the likes of Gabriel Jesus, Michael, ready, waiting on the bench for their opportunity.
Yeah, he's a very good striker, but he's no Aguero, and that's Pep saying it. He's irreplaceable, and he knows that. Obviously, Jesus will only get better as well because he's still young, and the more games he plays, he'll improve. But you just can't replace Aguero, and if I was Man City, I'd try and keep him there for as long as you can. As we said, he's very professional. He's only 31. He's got a lot of years ahead of him, I think, of scoring goals at this level.
Do you not think Jesus could reach that level with game time and experience as he gets older?
In my opinion, no. I think Aguero is one of a kind. I don't think he'll ever be as good as Aguero. I think he can get close to it, but Aguero is a special player, and there's not many of them that come along, in this decade. And for Jesus to try and get to Aguero, I think will be very, very difficult.
Well, the game at Molineux has kicked off. So, John Murray, what's the latest? Any chances yet?
Yes, it was Sergio Aguero who had the first touch of the match as Manchester City kicked off. It is 0-0. City were very direct right from the start of the match. And just now we've seen the first move involving first De Bruyne, who was silky smooth in the centre circle, Clinton, wasn't he? Found Mahrez with his pass. But Mahrez's first diagonal ball over the top, just a little bit too long for Sterling, and it bounced away through for a goal kick.
Yeah, he tested Sterling's hamstrings there, but it was good play from Kevin De Bruyne. He is silky. Like watching De Bruyne here live, it's like he's got a different picture to everyone else in the ground and in the football ground. He sees passes before anyone else. But no, Man City, it's been a good start from Man City so far.
Yep, De Bruyne, currently one of the finest footballers in the world, and so good on either foot. He's just providing a masterclass in the matches that he plays at the moment. But it is 0-0 very early on. We're in the third minute, Emma, here at Molineux.
We've talked about City going forward, really looked at Sergio Aguero there, but what about City's defence? They've not kept back-to-back clean sheets in an away game in the league since April. That's quite shocking, isn't it, for the champions, Michael Kitely?
Well, that's been their problem, isn't it? When you think of City, no one thinks they're going to struggle to score goals because they've got goals all over the team. But defensively, they've struggled a little bit this season, and Wolves really hurt them in their home fixture. And they'll be looking, as you said, to try and keep a clean sheet. But, they're playing, Fernandinho's been playing centre-half, who I don't think is a centre-half, and I think they really miss him in defensive midfield. I've said that on a number of occasions this season. And I think they'll probably need to go out in January and strengthen in that department to do well in the Champions League. I think the league's over, in my opinion, and I think they'll be looking to strengthen that for the Champions League and try and win the Champions League.
Would you back Wolves to go on, Clinton?
Did you hear what Michael said? Fernandinho is not a centre half. He's been their best centre half though. When Pep picks the team, it's always Fernandinho, either Otamendi or John Stones. They are missing Laporte, and they didn't bring a replacement in. They've lost Vincent Kompany, who's a leader. That's what they're lacking, a big leader, centre half. I think they were going to go in for Harry Maguire. They didn't get him, so that's where they've made a mistake this season, Man City, not buying a world-class centre half. They've got one in Laporte, but they need another one beside him.
I agree, because they've really missed Fernandinho in centre mid, I think, and he's the one that breaks up plays, and they've been getting done on the counter attack, and he's normally the one that stops that. So He could look. He's a great player, so he can play centre half, and he's good on the ball. So it's not a problem playing in City's team. But I think they've really missed him in defensive midfield, and they haven't, as Clinton said, they haven't gone out and replaced Laporte, and that's probably cost them the league, in my opinion. And that's why I think they'll probably strengthen in January to try and go on and win the Champions League.
The other fascinating thing about City this season is they've conceded an opening goal in 7 of their matches. That's only one short of their combined tally in the previous 2 seasons. So do you think, especially teams like Wolves that fancy their chances against the top 6, Steve, that they go into games like this with that extra little bit of confidence, knowing that you can beat this City back line?
Yeah, of course. I think if you look at the Wolves team, they're perfect for the counter-attack with the amount of pace they've got. And if Man City haven't got proper defenders at the back, and when we're saying proper defenders, we're talking about the likes of Kompany and Laporte and stuff like that. They can't deal with the counter-attack as well as what you look at Liverpool, the way Van Dijk deals with counter-attacks. He's always in the right position. He's already waiting for it. If you're not that way inclined, it's hard for you to do. You can see the game behind us now, and you can see that Man City are having the ball. If they give the ball away, they're in trouble because they've got Traoré, Jimenez, they're on them very, very quickly. And as I said, I think in January will be interesting to see who they bring in.
That's just what's happened here with Traoré receiving the ball, running at the Manchester City defence, just overrunning it though through for a goal kick.
Yeah, that was the old Traoré, John, overrunning it. But no, Steve's right. On the counter attack, they will be good. Jota and Traoré have got loads of pace, so Man City are going to dominate possession, but Wolves will be really good on the counter attack.
The other thing about Manchester City in these last couple of matches, and it's happening again today, is just to see Bernardo Silva playing in what is effectively a central midfield role to the left of, it's Rodri today, it was Gundogan at the weekend. And I get the impression that Guardiola really likes this, and he's asking him to play a disciplined role that isn't necessarily his game, but at the moment he's carrying out his instructions in that role extremely well, Bernardo Silva.
Yeah, because he's a really good footballer, he's an intelligent footballer. He played there a few times last season for Man City. He's so comfortable on the ball, and he picks the right pass. 9 times out of 10 he'll always pick the right pass, and last season he had a great season for Man City.
You mentioned there, John, Adama Traoré spearheading a Wolves counter there. Michael Kightly, a former Wolves winger yourself, what are your thoughts on Traoré? Because I remember myself seeing him at Villa and thinking there's definitely potential in this player. You could see sort of fits and starts of it, but it seems to have really come together for him, doesn't it, at Wolves? Yeah,
well, I think that's confidence, isn't it? I remember playing against him when he was at Middlesbrough, and he was just so quick. You know, I used to be fairly quick, but he was just ridiculously quick. And I thought that at that time, wow, this player could be unbelievable. But he questioned his final ball, and I think, as you said, Villa sort of weren't really having him, and Villa ended up getting decent money for him. He's gone to Wolves, and he didn't even play at the start, really. He was sort of in and out, and now he's playing week in, week out. He's been given the licence to do what he does best, and his confidence is sky high, and I think he's just built on that. And then now he's just having, a really good season, and he's probably Wolves' danger man. Everyone thinks about Wolves, they think about Traoré and his pace. Everything that Wolves do good comes from Traoré or from Doherty down the right, in my opinion, in games that I've seen this season. And he's just going for strength. And if he carries on, he's only 23. If he carries on, he's going to end up getting a big move.
Well, this season, 17 appearances, 3 goals, 3 assists. Looks as if he may well do some more damage tonight as well on the way Wolves have started. With that then, again, we bring it back to Nuno. You think he's the key man, bringing the most out of him?
Yeah, I think so. I think he tried him, didn't he, a couple of times at right wing back. And when I watched those games, I don't think he was effective. I think he's really effective with Doherty behind him, and they link up really well. And his pace is just frightening. Any defender that gets up against him 1v1 is in trouble, because his pace and power is just better than anyone else's in the league. And then now he's working on his final ball, and he's starting to deliver. And he's just getting better and better. And as I said, he's only 23, so he's going to get better and better. And just watching it here is another foul against him. How many people have got yellow cards against Traoré this season? It's because no one can catch him. He's just that quick.
That was Raheem Sterling chasing him there, and
even he couldn't keep up.
It was one of those little fouls that the top clubs are so adept at committing when Traore was just in danger of getting away, and it was Sterling who caught him, and actually the home supporters enraged that Martin Atkinson didn't show a yellow card. Indeed, he didn't even give a free kick to Wolves for that. We've just got a stoppage in play at the moment because of a clash of heads between Mendy and Dendoncker, and Dendoncker is actually receiving lengthy treatment. He's still sitting down on the pitch. I think Mendy's okay, but they're not sure about Dendoncker at all.
No, it didn't look good, and they both went for a headed ball, and you can see Dendoncker got there just before him, and Mendy's kind of caught him on, like, it looks like it's not a headbutt, but yeah, the way he's clashed with him, he's headbutted him on his forehead, and he looks a bit dazed, to be fair. So you won't want to lose him, because they've already without their most influential centre half in Bolly at the moment. He's out for a long time, so, and then Doncker's doing a good job playing that centre half.
Yeah, lengthy stoppage, 10 minutes on the clock, still Wolves 0, Manchester City 0, and Dendoncker is now getting to his feet, so we'll see what the decision is on him in a moment or two.
Steve Morrison, just bringing the conversation quickly back to Adama Traore. His performances are naturally attracting quite a bit of attention. I think he's been linked with Tottenham. Can you see Wolves coming under a bit of pressure this transfer window?
Yeah, of course. Look, he's got one thing that everyone wants, and that's pace. He's got pace to burn. When I see him play for Middlesbrough, I watched him do some stuff. It was just it was unbelievable. He was bouncing off people, falling on the floor, getting up and still getting the ball the other side. It was crazy, and Pulis just used to say, give him the ball and let him do his thing. He'd run from anywhere, and that's why they had such a good season that year, and obviously they've struggled ever since he's left there.
John Murray, chance.
Jota breaking away through. Edison's come out of his penalty area and he's fouled him and he's off. Wow. The Manchester City goalkeeper Edison has been sent off. Jota burst through. He was clean through from Cody's pass from halfway inside the Wolves half, and Edison out of his penalty area. Jota just got a touch on the ball to push it past him, and the goalkeeper clattered Jota. It was about 4 or 5 yards outside of the penalty area, and Martin Atkinson is sending off Edison with 11 minutes on the clock. How much of a contact there was there? Jota was absolutely flying, and he's just brushed his arm, maybe the side of his body, but that was enough to bring him down at the pace that he was going. So Manchester City will have to play the remainder of this game with 10 men, Clinton Morrison.
Yeah, and I think it is a red card. You can see he's definitely caught him. I don't know, I know Edison comes out and they like to play this keeper sweeper, but I think Carl Walker can get back at him. It's a great ball from Cody and a great run from Jota, but he just put his team in big trouble now, and Edison, he doesn't want to leave the pitch, but I think the refs made the right call there.
Well, he hasn't left the pitch yet.
He doesn't want to go. Look,
I think they're clearly waiting for VAR to have a look at this, but I'd be surprised if this doesn't back up Martin Atkinson's decision, and indeed the cheer of the crowd tells you that Edison has to go and he has to peel his gloves off, and we'll have to Pep Guardiola will have to make a change now, and we'll see Claudio Bravo coming on to replace Edison.
Well, City have got themselves, Wolves have got themselves a free kick, but Steve Morrison, right decision?
100% sending off, and it's a great bit of play, something they worked on, something we spoke about literally a minute ago. That doesn't happen against Liverpool, not with their centre-halves, because they're ready, they drop. You look at that, one player's made one movement, the other centre-half hasn't gone with his runner, and he's in, and it has to be a sending off, because if he doesn't come out, I think he scores. And it's of their own making, I'm afraid.
Oh, wow.
Michael?
Yeah, it's a sending off for me. You know, it's such bad defending for City, and we spoke about it just before now. Just one ball down the field, a simple pass down the field, and as Steve said, that doesn't happen for Liverpool, does it? And Otamendi, I think, is the player that sort of gets sucked in to going in short, and he spins in behind and does it with his pace, and he has to come out. Well, I don't know whether he has to come out, but he comes out and he's definitely in contact, and it's a sending off for me.
We're taking
here we are. There's a sacrifice being made, John Murray.
Yeah, it's a little surprising that Sergio Aguero is the player who Pep Guardiola has decided to substitute after only 13 minutes of this match. Maybe suggest that there is a little bit of a worry about his fitness, the fact that he had to make a change here, and it's Aguero who's been substituted with Claudio Bravo now running onto the field.
I can see why he's done it. He's just come back from injury, but you know, Steve and Michael, you'll be devastated. You just come back and we've only had about 10 or 12 minutes, and obviously you get sacrificed, but you have to do it for the team. I think he's going to want more legs in the team, and that's not Aguero's game anymore, running into channels or holding the ball up and stuff like that. So it's going to be hard for Man City, but yeah, he didn't look happy coming off, but he kind of accepted it anyway.
Let's see what happens with this free kick. So it is 0-0. Wolves against the now 10 men Manchester City. Ederson sent off in the 12th minute of the match. Don't know about you, a number of occasions this season Ederson has diced with danger outside of his penalty area. Maybe we'll discuss that in a moment or two. But Wolves have got this free kick. Manchester City have got all 10 men back, either on the edge of or inside their own penalty area. Standing to the left of the ball, Moutinho. It is going to be João Moutinho, and he didn't really strike it with any whip or power, and it was an easy catch for Claudio Bravo with his first touch of the match into his midriff.
So, 8 o'clock exactly at Molineux. It is still goalless between Wolves and Manchester City, but Man City down to 10 men. Ederson has been sent off. Immediate red card for effectively taking out Jota. So Bravo on, but it's Aguero that has been sacrificed. So we'll discuss what the potential impact of that could be after the news on 5 Live Sport with Giuliano Casadei.
On digital, BBC Sounds, smart speaker and online.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
A survivor of a plane crash in Kazakhstan has told 5 Live how the aircraft shook before it came down shortly after taking off in freezing weather. At least 12 people were killed and dozens more were injured when the Bek airplane crashed into a building. Here's Aslan Nazaraliyev.
I was scared how would my little daughters, live if I pass away in this plane. I was praying that I won't die in this plane. Then everyone starts screaming, children start crying.
Balfour Beatty's had its contract to renovate the MI6 headquarters terminated after losing sensitive floor plans of the building. The company had been working at the site in central London. George Michael's sister has died at the age of 55 on the 3rd anniversary of his death. The family say Melanie Panayiotou passed away suddenly at her home in North London on Christmas Day. The Northern Powerhouse Partnership, which speaks for business and civic leaders across the north of England, has welcomed reports that the Treasury is going to change its spending rules to promote growth in the North and the Midlands. It suggested the rules for investing in transport and other infrastructure projects will be relaxed. Professor Richard Jones is from the University of Sheffield.
I think the proposed rule changes, what's really important about them is this idea that we can actually be a bit ambitious about what can happen to prosperity in regions whose productivity isn't very high. And, we can make the investments on the assumption that those investments will lead to more prosperity.
The Competition and Markets Authority is investigating Amazon's bid for a stake in Deliveroo. The watchdog said the two companies hadn't addressed its concerns. The investment could be bad for customers and restaurants. Amazon says the deal will create jobs. And a couple who unwittingly dumped £15,000 in Somerset have got it back thanks to staff at a recycling centre. They took what they believed was an empty cardboard box to the depot after clearing the home of a dead relative. Their car registration number was identified using CCTV, and the lucky couple were tracked down by the police.
And in sport, in the first test in South Africa, England are 175 runs behind the hosts. They've taken 4 wickets in the second innings. You can follow day 3 by listening to the Cricket Social on the BBC Sport website. Tyson Fury's WBC heavyweight title rematch with Deontay Wilder is confirmed for February the 22nd in Las Vegas. Russia has appealed its 4-year suspension from all major sporting events. The case will be heard by the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Fallon Sherrock is out of the PDC World Darts Championship, beaten 4-2 by Chris Dobey in the 3rd round. In football, England international midfielder Izzy Christensen has returned to the Women's Super League with Everton, joining from Lyon on an 18-month deal. Zlatan Ibrahimovic has agreed to re-sign for AC Milan. The 38-year-old was a free agent after leaving LA Galaxy. And Potter's Corner ended Wales's 54-year wait for a Welsh national winner. The horse is part-owned by Wales rugby star Jonathan Davies. And the latest score in the Dundee derby, it's 1-0 to Dundee United.
BBC 5 Live.
After a tough tour to New Zealand, England are in South Africa for a Test match series.
There was some nervous moments when I suggested, I think at tea on day one, that this game was done and dusted.
BBC Sport brings you the Cricket Social. All the best conversation and analysis as England take on the Proteas.
When it gets to this kind of situation, you want the fiver.
Listen to the Cricket Social every morning of every day's play throughout the series on BBC Sounds.
This is 5 Live Sport.
Hello there, welcome back to 5 Live Sport with me, Emma Saunders. Here with me in the studio in Salford, we've got Steve Morrison and Michael Kitely at the match at Molineux, where it's goalless between Wolves and Manchester City. Clinton Morrison and John Murray. John, when we last heard from you just before the news, City were down to 10 men, Edison off red-carded, Bravo on, and Aguero sacrificed. What's been the impact over the last 5 minutes?
Yeah, still Wolves 0, Manchester City 0, and well, clearly this game now is intriguingly poised with City down to 10 men and so much of the match to play. Sterling has moved into the central position. Manchester City just coming into the penalty area now with Mahrez on the left-hand side, who is challenged by Dendoncker, and it's been given by Martin Atkinson only as a goal kick. Well, I have to say, with a naked eye there, that looked like contact from Dendoncker on Sterling, and the Manchester City players, 2-3 of them, have gone to Martin Atkinson, but he says no.
I think it's Mahrez against Dendoncker. There's a bit of contact with the feet. It's accidental, but it is. Mahrez goes past him, and Dendoncker, his left foot treads on Mahrez's foot.
Well, so VAR will look at that.
It's accidental, but he trod on his foot, and I've seen them given.
He stands on the foot.
Yeah, he stands on his left foot.
That could well be given as a penalty.
That could be given. I've seen one at Brighton not long ago against Everton given, so that could be given.
Well, the players are waiting. They're waiting, Wolves, to take this goal kick. And we have on the screen checking possible penalty. We've seen the pictures, and Mahrez, Dendoncker's foot clearly stood on Mahrez's foot, and Martin Atkinson is now in discussions with VAR. Conor Cody, the Wolves captain, is standing there with him, and we're just waiting for this decision. And again, this is taking some time here for a VAR decision, Emma.
Yeah.
When the most recent word was that they intended to speed the process up, but we're still waiting here to see whether the decision is going to be Manchester City penalty or not.
Whilst we wait, Steve Morrison, are you expecting to see a penalty?
I'm not sure. It's an opinion at the end of the day, isn't it? As a forward, you want it. As a defender, you don't. If it's outside the box, you most probably get a foul. As it's inside the box, the ref's interpreted that it's not enough for a penalty. But when it takes this long, you normally think it's going to be given, don't you?
Well, the VAR doesn't appear to be too sure either. Michael Kitely, are you expecting to see Atkinson point to the spot?
Yeah, I am. I think this is a penalty. Myself, as a winger if you go past your fullback like that and someone shreds on your foot, it's a painful one, and I think it's a foul. I think it's going to be given.
Penalty.
Rectangle in the air, it's a penalty.
There we go.
VAR has overturned Martin Atkinson's initial decision. I think it's the right decision, I have to say. Mahrez had his foot stood on by Dendoncker, and so Manchester City, down to 10 men, will have the chance to open the scoring from the spot through Raheem Sterling.
Yeah, it's a definite penalty. I totally agree. They made the right call. I knew he was going to give it. When it takes that long, you always know they're going to make the right call.
Well, a chorus of boos from the home supporters. You can hear what their reaction is and how they feel about it. So Raheem Sterling from inside the D steps out to his left, right-footed penalty. It's saved by Rui Patricio, and then shovelled behind by Cody for a corner, and it remains 0-0.
Wow. So Manchester City already dealt a blow in that they're down to 10 men, but with a chance there from the spot to take the lead from Raheem Sterling, and it's been saved. The question, though, was the keeper off his line?
Was the keeper off the line, or was there... we're having VAR looking at this, and... you can hear the home supporters are fearing that Rui Patricio will be judged. It's possible encroachment we're seeing on the VAR screen inside the ground.
The
and
game's
Martin
gone.
Atkinson says it's another penalty.
Game's gone.
It's going to be retaken.
The game has gone.
And he lets him take. I don't know if I'd let Sterling take it again.
Well, Sterling.
Maybe De Bruyne.
Sterling is going to take it. He's got the ball.
Fair play to him.
So, just to be clear, VAR is taking a second look at that because of encroachment, John Murray.
Yep, it's been deemed that there was encroachment inside the penalty area, clearly by Wolves defenders, and therefore the penalty will be taken again. So again, for the second time in the space of a few seconds, it's Raheem Sterling against Rui Patricio. Last time he went to the goalkeeper's right. This time Sterling again goes to his right. It's saved, but Sterling is there to tap it into the net. And Manchester City have taken the lead, and things are being thrown. Things are being thrown from the Jack Hayward stand behind that goal. Fortunately, no one's been struck by anything. And now there's a little bit of pushing and shoving. Johnny has pushed Kyle Walker, and the players are going across to referee Atkinson. It is Wolves 0, Manchester City 1. And we will now see the players coming back to the halfway line.
Steve Morrison, I think when it was ordered to be retaken, the words "game's gone" came out of your mouth. Do you want to elaborate, expand on that a little bit?
It's crazy. We've been sitting here 5 minutes watching them decide whether it's a penalty, and you think to yourself, how have you got to take that long to make a decision? It's either a penalty or it's not. He's stood on his foot or he's not. Keeper's made a great save. It's a bad penalty. And then he gets to take it again because someone's followed it in slightly too early.
There's a City player encroaching though
as well.
So
the City player's in front of the Wolves player, so surely the City players gained an advantage as well. So where does I don't know? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Michael Kightly, your sympathies very much then with the Wolves fans and the Wolves team here.
Yeah, massively. You know, the keeper saved the penalty, and just because a Wolves player's cleared the rebound, he's given it again. And I'm looking at the replay and I can see a City player in front of a Wolves player, but because he doesn't get the rebound, he gets another chance at it. And I'm just not having VAR at all. You know, they've made the right decision. I think it was a penalty. We've had the best of VAR and the worst of VAR in 30 seconds, and it's just killing the game, in my opinion. You know, the Wolves fans there are cheering, so happy that they're still in the game. Patricio's made a great penalty save, and it gets taken away from him for encroachment that had no relevance to where the penalty was going. Just ridiculous. VAR for me has got to go.
Clinton Morrison, what do you think the game plan is now then for City? They're a goal up in, let's say, dramatic fashion, but they are a goal to the good. But of course, they are still a man down, playing with 10 men, and still quite a big proportion of the game to go. So tactically, where do you see Pep going next with this?
No, they'll just play on the counter-attack, and they've got good players in their team that can counter-attack. Having Kevin De Bruyne, you don't feel like you got 10 men anyway, because he's like having two players on the pitch. He sees things that other people can't, and it suits the way it's going at the moment. This will suit Man City, because Wolves will have the ball, and then they get into their shape, and then De Bruyne's got the vision to pick that pass, and that's why Sterling's up front, I think, instead of Aguero, because he can cause loads of problems with his pace. But I do feel sorry for Wolves and Patricio, because he's made two excellent saves. And obviously the luck was with Sterling, and credit to him, he wanted to take it again, and he done what good people do. You follow up, and he managed to stick it into an empty net. But yeah, I agree with the lads. VAR, it does ruin the game. I was starting to like it, but after seeing this tonight, I might be going against it again.
For those Wolves players, it is difficult now as well, isn't it? That will no doubt be in the back of their head. Steve, what's it like when you're very much in a game against a side like Man City, a big side? You've every chance, you've proven already you can beat them this season, and then you have a decision like that go against you.
Yeah, it's a frustrating one, and they need to just compose themselves again, screw their heads back on, because you said it was a mad couple of minutes after where they lost the composure a little bit, and you get angry and frustrated, but they need to stick to their game plan because it was working, and hopefully they'll get a few chances. But yeah, it's just with the VAR one, it's just frustrating. It just takes the emotion out of the game, and it adds a lot more negative emotion than it does positive. I don't like it when I see people score goals and not celebrate because they're standing there waiting to see whether it is a goal or not. That's football. That's the moment when You put that ball in the back of the net, hardest thing to do in the game. And as many people have spoke about, it's the best feeling in football. And
it's innate, isn't it? You want to go off celebrating.
It's been taken away. It's been taken away because every single goal, they can actually take it back 30 seconds, can't they, and see if something's happened in the build-up. And it's frustrating. He was there to clear up things. But yeah, it done for me.
Look at that! Look at the City player here. He's in front of him.
The City player's the one who's encroaches. So basically, I don't know the exact rules. If that goes in, do they check it for encroachment? He has to go again.
John Murray, we can hear a tannoy announcement in the background there. I'm not sure how clearly you can hear it.
Emma, we're just hearing an announcement on the public address system, which was relating to the throwing of objects. And the announcement has reminded spectators that there are CCTV cameras inside the ground, and that anyone picked up on those cameras throwing objects onto the field will have action taken against them. So a clear announcement to the spectators. I actually think it was addressed to Manchester City supporters initially, but I mean we saw objects being thrown from the Wolves fans after the goal was scored by Sterling from the Jack Hayward stand where the Wolves supporters are. So it was a reminder to all that the cameras are watching them.
The voice of John Murray alongside Clinton Morrison at Molineux, where Manchester City are a man down but a goal up against Wolves. Ederson red-carded. Sterling on second chance from the spot, scoring for Man City, putting them ahead. Here with me in the studio, Steve Morrison and Michael Kiteley. Not only are we dropping in on this game at Molineux, but also reflecting on the Boxing Day matches and looking ahead to a jam-packed weekend ahead. So on that note, Celtic host Rangers in a match that kicks off at 12:30 on Sunday. You can listen to live commentary of that match on Radio 5 Live. Pat Nevin will be at the game for us, and he joins us now. Good evening to you, Pat.
Good evening, how are you doing?
Not too bad. I think Steve Morrison and Michael Kiteley slightly frustrated by the role VAR are playing in this game at Molineux.
And of course I have to underline I am delighted with it because it got the decision correct. Well done, VAR.
Well, I think the jury's out on that one, Pat. But anyway.
I know, but it was a foot on the line, wasn't it? And if you're on the line and you clear it, the rule is you are in the box. It's like you've given a penalty. If you are on the line and you're fouled, you are in the box. And it's the same with encroachment. If your foot's on the line, which it was when the ball was taken, the player who cleared it away had been then encroaching. So it's a bit tight, but I think I'm with the referee in this one.
All right. Well, we'll come back to that debate in just a second. The faces of Michael Kiteley and Steve Morrison, I can't say they might be in agreement with you, Pat.
No, I'm sure they're not.
But sticking to Scottish Premiership, Rangers, they haven't had much luck, have they, at Parkhead in recent years? Is there any reason to think this Sunday will be any different?
Right. Well, first of all, the reason why they didn't win the last game was the Scottish League Cup final. Celtic won 1-0. With a goal that was clearly offside. Now, had they had VAR... No, I'm not going to go back down that again.
Be careful what you wish for.
That's a good point. But the problem is it's been really tight now for Celtic and Rangers, really close this season. Now, Celtic have played 19 games in the league. They've drawn one and they've lost one. The game that they did lose was against Livingston, and that was because they were down to 10 men on a plastic pitch. Rangers, they've drawn 2 and lost 1, and that one that they lost was against Celtic. So they're so tight at the top of the league. There's very, very little in between the teams. They seem to win all their home games, but in the end, like some of the best leagues over the years, the real tight ones between two teams, it almost certainly will come down to the head-to-heads. Who wins the games between the two? And that's why this one at the weekend is so big. If Rangers win this, they will find themselves, just behind Celtic in points, but with a game in hand, and they could go ahead. That's how tight it is. That's how close it is. And the fact that, the first game was 2-0, the second game was 1-0 to Celtic, but Rangers, most people would have suggested, were the better team on the day.
With that then, if Rangers do win on Sunday, you've mentioned they're 5 points behind at the moment, but that gap would close and they'd have that game in hand. What kind of statement would it make if Rangers did win?
I think they've already kind of made the statement. The fact that they're up there on the heels of Celtic after so many years, you know, I was going to say in the rear view mirror, they weren't even in the same motorway, they were that far behind. Couldn't see them, but they've got so close under Steven Gerrard. It's really impressive. So many of the statements have been made. And I think Celtic and Celtic fans are acutely aware now that they could do it. If Celtic take their foot off the gas, and I'm going to stop using that motoring analogy any minute now, if they actually stop at any point at all, then I think Rangers will overtake them. Oh, damn, forgot to stop. And that they're capable of doing it because they've got good players. Morelos has been phenomenal for Rangers this season. His goal scoring is amazing. You know, his record with red cards is less so, but it's a brilliant job that Steven Gerrard's done there. He's tactically, he's got it, really close to as perfect as he could with a limited squad. I think if you look player for player in the size of the squad, Celtic are the better. But that doesn't matter. Rangers are stuck with them all the way. And the good news is it's not just two great, good teams in a poor league. Celtic and Rangers are both doing pretty well in the Europa League as well. So these teams are improving.
You mentioned Mr. Morales there. How important is it that he keeps his cool? He was sent off in that previous appearance at Celtic, missed a penalty against Celtic in the League Cup final. So how important is he in this game that he keeps a cool head?
Well, lads will know that. There are certain players that you know that if you wind them up enough, they'll crack. And everybody in the game knows. We know who they are. When we play against them, we needle them. We wind them up. That's what you do. And Morelos is absolutely the prime candidate, on this game for that. I mean, he got sent off recently against Motherwell. It was really kind of harsh for him as well. He was I don't think there was anything wrong with the tackle he made. It was just slightly mistimed. He didn't hit the player. But because the referees have got his number a little bit now and think he's a troublemaker and is willing to react, not only does he get punished for when he does do things wrong, he gets punished when he might have done something wrong as well. So he has to keep his head right. Time and again, Stevie G has said to him, come on, you're a great player. You're the most important player. You're the top goal scorer. You're everything for the team. But you've got to be on the pitch. And he's got plenty of players. And there's nothing wrong with winding players up. That's part of the game. It's gamesmanship. If you know the likes of Scott Brown, who is, a fabulous player and the most important player in Celtic's recent history, he'll be there winding them up like anything. And he's just got to be clever enough not to be wound up.
Pat Nevin, thank you. The Old Firm derby this Sunday, 12:30. You can listen to live commentary of that match on Radio 5 Live. On the topic of derbies, what's the best derby you've played in, Steve Morrison?
The Yorkshire derbies were good.
Yeah.
I remember scoring the winner against Huddersfield for Leeds, and that was pretty special. Leeds are a massive, massive club. All over the country. The fan base is incredible, but the Yorkshire derbies are really good. They're massive. The grounds are rocking. It was at Hillsborough as well, so it's fantastic. Obviously, there's been some great London derbies as well when I was at Millwall, especially against the likes of QPR and games
playing
like
for
that.
Millwall, every team that comes to you probably treats it a little bit like a derby, don't they?
It was like at Leeds as well. Like you think at Leeds, everyone wants to beat them, everyone wants to put them down, everyone wants to keep them out of the Premier League because they should be there with the size of their club. And when you're at Millwall, every game's like being the underdog, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you've seen what that place is like when it's rocking. But the London derbies, it doesn't matter how you're doing in the league, the fans turn out and they're loud and they get right behind you. And we've had some great games, especially against QPR down there, scoring winners at the end, and the place erupts. So, you can't beat a derby. You can't beat a derby.
Well, the game at Molineux this evening, not necessarily a derby geographically or on paper, but it's heating up, isn't it, John Murray?
Just say that again, Emma.
Well, we're just talking about derbies off the back of that chat about the Old Firm this weekend. I said Wolves Man City, not necessarily a derby, but it's heating up, isn't it?
Yeah, plenty of feeling in this. Just to recap, we've played 37 minutes, and the main incidents, the fact that Ederson, the Manchester City goalkeeper, was sent off in the 12th minute after careering out of his box and clipping Jota, who'd been sent through. He was sent off. and Claudio Bravo came onto the field, and that means that obviously Ederson will be suspended for the match against Sheffield United on Sunday. And then the whole penalty farrago, Manchester City being awarded a penalty, Dendoncker standing on Mahrez, VAR gave it. Sterling's first penalty was saved by Rui Patricio down to his right, but there was encroachment, VAR found on looking at it. Sterling's second penalty was also saved, but it was parried by Rui Patricio to him and popped into the net. So we have a scoreline with half-time approaching of Wolves 0, Manchester City 1. But it's really interesting watching it with Clinton Morrison of how Manchester City are playing against 10 men.
They're brilliant though.
I beg your pardon, with 10 men.
Yeah, they're the team that you think that can go down to 10 men and still dominate the football, because they've got that much good players on the pitch. And that's all they're based on. You see when I've been and watched Man City train once, and I've seen it. The way their training is, it's all about keeping the ball for fun, and that's how they've done it today. When you go down to 10 men and you're winning a football match, it's just keep the ball. And you can see Pep on the touchline saying keep passing. And Wolves have to now break Man City down, but it will be counter-attacking. And Man City have been brilliant so far.
Yeah, they have. And the other thing, of course, worth pointing out is that with another match coming for Manchester City on Sunday. Yeah, one thing I'm sure Pep Guardiola did not want was to play virtually a whole match with 10 men.
Yeah, it's a very, very good point, isn't it, John Murray? Off air, we were talking, Steve Morrison, weren't we, about the way your body recovers after a game. I want to get into that in depth a bit later in the show, but it's true. It's the last thing Pep would have wanted. I mean, it's tough enough playing against Wolves. They're a high-intensity team. But to have to spend so much of the game with a man down as well, it's gonna take it out this City side, isn't it? It must do.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, 48 hours until the next game. I think it's less than that slightly, and they'll have only started recovering at 10 o'clock tomorrow night. 24 hours after, it's when it starts kicking in. So, yeah, it'll be an interesting one. Aguero will be fresh. That'll be for certain.
Yeah.
But the way Man City do it, they'll keep the ball rather than running around like lunatics trying to get after it. So, yeah, it'll be an interesting one to see how they get on against Sheffield United.
Yeah, so Sheffield United, it's 6 o'clock on Sunday evening. It's actually even worse for Wolves. They may be a man up at the moment, but they travel to Anfield for a 4:30 kickoff on Sunday. So a recovery period of less than 45 hours. It could really be much tougher. Michael Kightly, on that note, just give us a sense of how difficult it is when you're playing games like this. They come in thick and fast at this time of year. And not only that, it's such a crucial time of year as well, isn't it? You want to be getting these results.
Yeah, it is a very crucial time of the year. For me, I found it really hard to recover in time. You know, if I played on a Saturday, on Sunday, I felt like I could train and probably play again. But then on Monday, I felt really stiff and, you know, really lethargic and didn't have that sharpness in my legs. And it took, obviously, the older I got, it took me even longer to recover. So it is very difficult. Obviously, they've got a lot of technology at the clubs now. You know, they'll have, you know, chambers where you go in and you recover, and they'll be doing everything they can, you know, massages and things like that. But it is difficult to recover in that short space of time. But all the clubs have got to do it. I know Wolves is probably the least amount of time to recover, but it's the same for everyone else. So they're just going to have to get on with it. And so far this season, they've done that very well.
Is that the same for you, Steve? Do you have this sort of day after where you might feel okay, but it's the day after that is the killer?
Yeah, you can take on the world the day after, and then Monday morning comes and it looks like someone's taking your world away. It's crazy. But no, it's a tough old gig. It's one of those, you go into the next game as well and you're feeling really tired, but if you start well and you start okay, it's amazing how quick you feel better, and obviously vice versa. If it's not going well, you feel even worse. But
it's not just physical, is it? Mentally.
Oh, mentally, it's tiring, it's draining. You think a lot of these players they haven't done what me and Mike could have done this year, where we've had a nice little Christmas day, recovered. They'll have gone in, trained, worked hard. You're managing your body. Obviously, these guys at this end of the football spectrum is. They got everything you can imagine. I think I've heard like sleep pods and stuff like that, and at the training ground, it's crazy. So I can imagine they recover very, very well. But the beauty of it is everyone's in the same boat, so everyone's feeling the same. So it doesn't have an adverse effect on some and not on others. Everyone's the same. We're all human beings. We all feel the same thing. So obviously, teams like Liverpool, where you're winning, Man City, if they win this, I'm sure they'll feel fine in a couple of days if they win this, because they'll go in that dressing room, they'll feel on top of the world after tonight.
Clinton, what about you? I bet you're enjoying this Christmas period a lot more as a pundit, aren't you?
I've been enjoying this for the last, 4 or 5 years. I'm just getting bigger and bigger. I love it. I can eat what I want and do what I want. I don't have to answer and worry about my body weight or anything. So, but no, I didn't mind playing. As a centre forward, I think when you're playing games and scoring goals, you can't wait to the next game. So when your manager's telling you the next game you're not going to play and be resting, I just didn't want that, because I was always worried if that person comes in, he's going to take my position and I might not get back in the team. So I think as that's me being selfish as a centre forward and just being greedy. But I just love playing football. But Steve's right, the technology they've got and the way sleep pods are now is totally different from when I was playing. All we used to do is just come in, and you were lucky if you could get a massage. The queue was so big, there was only one masseur and one physio, and everyone was queuing, and you just waited for your massage, and then you was out there training the next day. And that's how it was in my day and age. And I'm talking like
your day and age, Clinton.
Or
the
60.
three of you are talking about as if you've been retired for donkey's years.
And the game's changed quick. It's changed quick. Trust me, we missed this boat. It's a nightmare.
We have missed it. The game has changed massively.
You touched on it there, Steve. You were saying, as a winning team, it can be a lot easier. What about then those teams that are down the bottom? How much more are they going to be feeling it?
Oh, it's a slog. It's an absolute slog. It's the excuses start to come out, don't they? Oh, we're tired and etc. etc. And as I said before, everyone's feeling the same. But obviously, when you're losing and you're struggling, it's tough. But that is one thing with the Christmas period. You can actually go into the period struggling, win a few games. If Aston Villa follow up their win at the weekend and win again, all of a sudden, everything's okay again. Vice versa, if you're Norwich and you lose again, for example, you're right in trouble. So, it's a great period of football. Now, I get to enjoy and watch loads of it, so it's great. But as a player, I loved it. I loved playing games of football, and Christmas was a chance for me to get another 3 or 4 goals, because I knew I was going to have that many games quickly.
Yeah, it's very true. The games come thick and fast, and that can be a real positive, can't it, if you're getting the right results. John Murray, did I hear that correctly? The board's gone up 7 minutes.
Yeah, 7 minutes, because we had a lengthy stoppage for the head injury to Dendoncker early on in the match, and then with the different VAR calls, which eventually led to the Manchester City goal, it's resulted in 7 minutes of added time, which I have to say I think is a fair figure.
Yes, I have to say it's hardly come as a surprise. We were going to try and get a half-time from you before the news, but with 7 minutes added on, we'll come back to you after the news on 5 Live Sport here with Giuliano Casadei.
On digital, BBC Sounds, smart speaker and online.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
A national day of mourning will be held in Kazakhstan tomorrow after a plane crashed shortly after taking off in freezing conditions this morning. 12 people were killed, but most of the 100 passengers and crew on board the plane survived. Balfour Beatty's had its contract to renovate MI6's headquarters terminated after losing sensitive floor plans of the building. The contractor had been working inside the Secret Intelligence Service's premises in central London. Aid agencies working in the Philippines are appealing for help after the second typhoon to hit the country in a month. At least 28 people have been killed after Typhoon Panthorn made landfall on Christmas Eve. And a pub chef who worked on Christmas Day, despite winning £1 million on a scratch card 4 days earlier, says he felt he needed to finish his shifts. Didsis Pirags won the cash while playing online during his lunch break.
And now I can tell you the latest sport from today. South Africa lead England by 175 runs in the first test. The hosts are on 72 for 4 going into day 3 in Centurion. You can follow the action via the Cricket Social on the BBC Sport website. Tyson Fury's WBC heavyweight title rematch with Deontay Wilder is confirmed for February 22nd in Las Vegas. Russia's appealed against its 4-year suspension from all major sporting events. That will be heard by the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Fallon Sherrock went out of the PDC World Darts Championship earlier, losing 4-2 to Chris Dobey in round 3 at Ali Pali. Dundee United lead Dundee 1-0 in the Scottish Championship. Elsewhere in football, AC Milan have announced that they are re-signing Zlatan Ibrahimovic. The 38-year-old has been a free agent since leaving LA Galaxy. England midfielder Izzy Christensen has left Lyon to return to the WSL. She's gone to Everton. Bristol lead was 3-0 in Rugby Union's Premiership, and Potter's Corner ended Wales's 54-year wait for a Welsh national winner. The horse is part-owned by rugby star Jonathan Davies.
The best live sport.
Coming up this January on 5 Live and 5 Live Sports Extra, there's live coverage from cricket's Big Bash.
There's a shot of intent. First time really we've seen Stoinis open his shoulders. Boyce just giving it a bit of flight, and he went straight back over the bowler's head.
The football continues with more live games.
Sterling follows up to score and make it a record-equalling scoreline of 6-0.
And the new Super League season gets underway.
The drop goal attempt! Wow, he has nailed that from there.
January on 5 Live and 5 Live Sports Extra.
This is 5 Live Sport.
Good evening, welcome back to 5 Live Sport. Here with me in the studio in Salford, we've got Steve Morrison and Michael Kitely. At the game at Molineux, it's been quite the first 45. We're just approaching the end of that first half. 7 minutes added on. John Murray next to Clinton Morrison.
Well, Manchester City still lead by 1-0. The 10 men of Manchester City after Ederson was sent off. Raheem Sterling scoring after the twice taken penalty. VAR gave it initially, the penalty, and then ordered it to be retaken because of encroachment. But Sterling scoring what is his 19th goal of the season for Manchester City, 10 in the Premier League now. But Clinton, Wolves are having a very good spell for the last 5-10 minutes.
No, they've been really good. Wolves, Man City are defending ever so well, and I've questioned Man City's defending all season, but Fernandinho and Otamendi are standing up along with the fullbacks, Walker and Mendy. But Wolves are pushing, they are creating chances, but so far City are defending really well.
Yeah, and in actual fact, with the 10 men now, City have dropped back into a 4-4-1, which has actually made them more solid.
It has made them more solid, most definitely. Rodri and Kevin De Bruyne are doing a great, and Mahrez is even tucking in to make it a free in there, so they're really solid. And you can see Pep's trying to organise them on the sideline and everything, but they are defending really well. There's a good unit there and a good group together.
So we are in the 6th minute of the 7 of added time. It is Wolves 0, Manchester City 1. The other thing, Emma, I mentioned about the crowd being warned over the public address system about the throwing of objects, how it was an offence, and how the crowd are being watched by CCTV. One picture has emerged of, I think it was Kevin De Bruyne, who was holding what looked like a silver hip flask, what appeared to be a metal hip flask that had been thrown from the stands onto the pitch. So that clearly is why we have had that announcement, because any player who'd be hit by that, if it was metal, that could cause serious damage.
Well, all I can say is that A, hopefully that's the only hit flask in the stadium, but B, and more importantly, fans take note of that announcement. We don't want to see any more of that. Michael Kitely, I think Wolves are probably going to be a bit disappointed when that half-time whistle blows, because they seem to have found a bit of a rhythm, haven't they now? Yeah,
they have. They're pushing. It's interesting to see here, because I think both teams are having to go against probably their game plan. Wolves will probably start the game, sit back and try and hit City on the break. And now, because of the sending off and obviously because of the goal that they've conceded, Man City are now sitting back and going to try and hit Wolves on the break. So Wolves now have got to find another way to beat City. At Etihad, Wolves hit Man City on the break twice and won the game 2-0. But now they're going to have to sort of pass the ball and get through them rather than hitting them on the break. So it'll be interesting to see what happens second half. Both of them changing their game plans, in my opinion.
The pictures we're getting on the screen inside the studio here, John Murray, it looks like Pep Guardiola just telling his players to take their time a little bit here. As we know, we're coming towards the end of those 7 minutes that have been added on to this first 45.
We've had the 7 minutes now, Emma,
right.
And I think with the way that the game has gone over the course of the last probably 15 minutes now, that he wants them to see it through to half-time. And that's exactly what they've done. You can hear the chorus of boos. The Wolves supporters feeling that they have been wronged by the decisions. But technically, the decisions are correct. Clinton Morrison.
They are, John, but the penalty one, the encroachment, I think the Man City player is level with the Wolves player, so I don't know why does he have to take it again. So if it happens again and there's a penalty and the Man City player goes in and the Wolves and Man City get the penalty and the Wolves, Patricio saves it again, are they going to let him retake it again because of encroachment? So I think that's very harsh, and that's why the Wolves fans are not happy. And yeah, Sterling's a lucky boy because he managed to get a second penalty and managed to tuck away the rebound. But I think Wolves have been good in the last 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, even though Claudio Bravo, coming on as a substitute, hasn't had a great deal to do, but very interestingly poised. Manchester City down to 10 men with Ederson sent off, Sterling scoring, and at half-time here at Molineux, it's Wolves 0, Manchester City 1.
John Clinton, thank you. We look forward to having you back for the second half. So as it stands then, City a man down at Molineux, but 1 up thanks to Raheem Sterling penalty after 25 minutes. And as it stands, the Premier League table, they would leapfrog Leicester City up to second, but still some 11 points behind Liverpool at the summit. Let's take a look then at the other end of the Premier League table. Watford finally off the bottom where they have been pretty much all season. Steve Morrison, don't roll your eyes. Come on now. It wasn't going to be long before we were talking about them, I'm afraid. They host Aston Villa on Saturday, as you've mentioned. That is a massive game, isn't it, for both sides? Arguably the game of the weekend, perhaps Arsenal-Chelsea. It's a lot sexier on paper, isn't it? But surely this is the biggest game of the weekend in terms of how much is on it. The most important game, would you say?
Well, it's the most important game if you're at the bottom of the table, yeah. So, yeah, it's a huge game. Look, it was obviously going to be a tough game when they played Liverpool in Pearson's first game in charge. Great win at Man United. Draw. So, see what happens next. It'll be interesting. Aston Villa had a fantastic win against Norwich. Arguably, Norwich were the better team, but the subs made the difference, and it was a very, very good win. And as I said, this little Christmas period, now, if Aston Villa go on and win this game, then it's been a very, very good Christmas period for them. If not, and Watford win, then obviously it keeps them all together, keeps a little close-knit of those groups of the teams that are going to be fighting it out at the bottom.
For Watford, Michael, Nigel Pearson, it's looking like a bit of a... genius is probably a bit too far, but the right appointment, certainly so. And it was a bit of a left turn for Watford because Nigel Pearson doesn't necessarily fit the mould, the structure at that club as we've seen over the last few years. But it appears to be working. 4 points in 3 games. And at home again this weekend where they beat Manchester United, they might just fancy themselves for this one. And then suddenly the complexion of the bottom of the table and those teams in that predicament, it changes again.
Yeah, for me, he was the right appointment. He's exactly what Watford needed. He's been there, done it with Leicester, kept them up when they were dead and buried a few years back. And he's gone in there and he's shored them up. You know, they were conceding goals left, right and centre, and they went away to Liverpool and you know, looked pretty solid. I know they lost the game, but you know, their performance was really good against Man United. They made Man United look bang average and a really good point yesterday away from home. So I fancy him to beat Villa, to be honest. Villa are, leaking goals themselves. I know they kept a clean sheet this weekend, but you know, they concede goals, and Watford now will have a little bit of confidence. Obviously, Troy Deeney coming back into the team is massive for them, and that was a big loss, you know, for Watford not having Troy Deeney, you know, all season. And I fancy him to win this game, and I think they've got a chance under Pearson to stay up. It's going to be difficult, but for me, it was the perfect appointment. They just needed someone to go in there and stabilise the club, and that's what they've done.
Do you think the club's owners deserve credit for moving away from the model we've seen at Watford over the last few years, Steve, and sort of taking this risk, taking this gamble with Nigel Pearson?
Yeah, well, it's a risk because it seems to go completely against what they normally do. So, but what's quite nice about it and refreshing is the fact they have maybe realised what they need at this time rather than keep trying something, because it doesn't take long to be too far adrift. I said they're still
6 points.
6 points, so it's still 2 wins, and it's and the goal difference. Oh no, it's 3 wins. Looking at their goal difference, -21. So they're a long way off it. So they needed someone to come in there and steer the ship in the right direction and steady the ship. As I said when he got appointed, that it wasn't a Duncan Ferguson type appointment where he's going to get the fans behind. He's going to have to do it through performances, and they've had a couple of good performances, and these are the games they talk about them 6-pointers, and I think we can be talking about that now at this time of season. And it's a massive game, huge game, and they need to win because they need to stay in touch with the likes of West Ham and Bournemouth and teams like that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, and I'm pleased that I saw the likes of Hayden Mullins and that coming off the bench as well, still being in and around it. They haven't been pushed to the side because, and Stacky as well, because they're the people that know that dressing room. They know the players, and I'm sure the players love those type of characters because they are really, really good characters. So it'd be really interesting to see how they get on. A massive game. If Watford win and Norwich lose, then unfortunately it could be the writing on the wall for Norwich.
For Villa or for Norwich?
For Norwich, if Watford
this
win
weekend,
and Norwich lose in their game, then...
Equally, though, for Villa, who are going to Vicarage Road this weekend, Michael, it does seem like, maybe this is a bit strong, but it is a season-defining period for Villa. They've had some critical games, defeated by Southampton at home, then went to Norwich, got that win, which Jack Grealish has described as a cup final. Now they go to Watford, got Burnley after that. But again, when you look at the situation at the table and at the bottom of the table and how close all those teams are, it's critical, isn't it, this weekend?
Yeah, it is. You know, the Villa players would have been looking at the fixtures this sort of period and thinking that they can pick up points. They'll be going to Watford thinking if we can beat Watford, we can almost see them off, because that will be a really big gap for Watford then. So this is a massive, massive game for both teams. But I honestly think Watford legit. I think they've improved so much. So I think it's going to be a tough game for Villa. But as you said, you've got Grealish, who's one of the best midfielders in the league, and he'll be looking to help his team to get a win.
West Ham, also one of those teams very much in the mire. They're 1 point above Villa in 17th, so just teetering above that drop zone after losing on Boxing Day against Crystal Palace. They do have a game in hand, but I should highlight that is against Liverpool. So, when we talk Watford, Norwich, Villa, even Southampton to some extent still, is it time to include West Ham in those conversations when we're looking at relegation candidates?
100%. Look, they've got a problem there at that football club. Fundamentally, they can't keep leading games and then losing them the way they do. Like, it's relegation.
I think it's 15 points from winning positions now they've lost this season.
It's frightening, and obviously it papers over the cracks when they go and beat a Chelsea, like 1-0, which is like, it's a freak result. But yeah, the way they lose games, it's just, they just capitulate. It's like they get late on in games, they're 1-0 up and see it out, fight for your life, put your body on the line, but they just don't seem to do that. They seem to keep giving goals up and giving points away, and you can't do it, especially at that end of the table. And as you said, the game in hand is against a Liverpool team that, at the minute as well, they're coming strong the last 20 minutes of games. They're really seeing teams off. So I think you can look all the way up to, I think Everton will be all right now. I even think Southampton will be all right now. I think they've got goals in them. They seem to be doing all right. Bournemouth always seem to, you don't judge them now, you judge them at the end, because Eddie Howe always seems to get them where they need to be. But yeah, West Ham are right in the mix. They're a strange team. They're winning games. You're doing all right. You have a look. You're like, oh, they're winning. Oh, good. And then 10 minutes later, it's game over.
What do you put that down to, Michael?
Well, I was just about to say there, you see yesterday Noble fighting with one of his players. There's a lot of frustration in that camp at the minute, and they'll be looking at those teams below them, and they'll be worried. So their confidence is going to be really low, and I'm really worried for West Ham.
It's quite a downturn there, though, isn't it? Because I think it was only a couple of months ago, Mark Noble was completely shouting from the rooftops, singing the praises of Pellegrini and how, words to the effect of, in his time at the club, it felt like things had really come together because they had started the season quite well. But it seems to have collapsed, quite quickly, hasn't it?
It has. Well, something's not right there. I've played with Mark Noble and know what kind of character he is, and he is Mr. West Ham. So for him to be doing that on the pitch, there's a lot of frustration coming from him there, and whether that's because of the manager, because of the players around him. As I said, I'm really worried about West Ham, because that shouldn't be happening, and they're going to be looking behind them and they're going to be thinking we could get right. Well, they are dragged into it, but if they lose their game this weekend and Villa, well, one of them's going to pick up results, aren't they? Villa or Watford.
They've got Bournemouth coming up on New Year's Day. I know you said, Steve, there's this feeling almost that they'll come good. You'll just see where Bournemouth are at the end of the season. But as far as Pellegrini's concerned, it's going to be a pretty critical 5 days, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it is, yeah, massively. I heard something recently about Julian Lescott saying about Pellegrini, what did he do at Man City, and Lescott's sort of words were, well, we had Aguero scoring goals and he was unsure how they wanted to defend, and that's coming from, a Man City player in Lescott. And if West Ham players are thinking that, how are we defending, how are we attacking, and no one really knows what they're doing, then they're in big, big trouble.
Whilst we're on this fixture, West Ham against Leicester, just a quick word on Leicester then. Yes, they are, in the lofty heights of the Premier League. After this result tonight, if it stays as it is, they will go down to third, but they're still very much at the right end of the table. But they've not won any of their last 4 back-to-back defeats against Man City. And then in the midst of a bit of a reality check, do we think? Because the other thing we need to look at, which we didn't really talk about last night on 5 Live, they didn't have a shot on target last night.
No, Liverpool were very good last night, and as I said, they're streets ahead of Leicester. But, at the start of the season, no one would have expected Leicester to be in and around the Champions League places. So what they've done up until now has been, remarkable, really. But now they've got that expectation of being in and around there because they've done so well. But, if Leicester finish just outside the top 4 and they finish in Europe, then that's a really good season for them. And, their next game is West Ham. So what a big game for both teams. But Brendan Rodgers has done unbelievable at that club. And, they'll be fine. They're not going to win the league. But, if they can push to get into the top 4, then that's a really, really good season for Leicester.
What about Southampton? They're at home to Crystal Palace this weekend, up to 14th in the table after beating Chelsea 2-0 at Stamford Bridge on Boxing Day. Steve, do you still include them in that bunch of teams that are going to be right down there battling it out into the season?
You have to at the minute because, like we say, the table don't lie and they're down there. But I like the fact that the weekend they left Ings out because they rested him and he's their top goal scorer, yet they still went and got a couple of goals and they looked very, very good. Look, they've got goals, they've got pace. If they can stop the balls going in the back of the net, then I think they'll be all right. For me, they're a good team. I like watching them. I don't mind watching them. I think that I enjoy the way they play in the game, and I think they'll be all right at the end. I think unfortunately, for you, Emma, I think it's going to be 3 out of the bottom 4, unfortunately.
Well, on that note, conveniently, the players are coming back out at Molineux. So let's focus on that for just a second. Our team there, John Murray and Clinton Morrison. Clinton, we'll talk about the game in front of you in just a moment or two. But for now, we're talking Southampton against Crystal Palace this weekend. Your former side. Do you think Palace will be fearing that Southampton have turned a bit of a corner now this season?
Yeah, maybe so, but I don't think Palace will be worrying about Southampton. I think Palace are in decent form at the moment. The only problem with Palace at the moment is loads of injuries. Loads and loads of injuries at the moment. So if you looked on the weekend, they had like 3 youngsters on their bench. So it's a struggle for Palace at the moment. But Southampton, I just heard what the guys were saying about Southampton. And yeah, they didn't play Danny Ings, and Obafemi comes in and does well. So I think Southampton will be fine this season. I think they struggle defensively, but going forward, Southampton look really good.
With Palace and the injury problem that does seem to be getting worse, another big blow in Patrick Van Aanholt, injured again by the looks of it. I think he'd only just come back in, hasn't he? And he's back out.
Yeah, he's done his hamstring. I think he came back too quick. He done it a few weeks ago and he was back after about 10 days. And I said, you should never be back that quick. But he thought it was all right. And then, yeah, I think he's done it again, the same hamstring. So he'll be out. Benteke's out. He's out for a few weeks with a muscular injury. So at the moment, Palace are struggling. I think Roy wants January, and hopefully the chairman will help him dip into the transfer market.
Yeah.
Emma, before the second half gets underway here, just to say that young Eric Garcia has been brought on, the 18-year-old, and he's going to play as the middle of 3 central defenders, and it's Mahrez who's been taken off. So Pep Guardiola making a change with the 10 men as City, as the second half begins. Wolves kicking off 1-0 down.
Thank you, John. We'll talk about that change in just a second. But Clinton, whilst I've got you on the situation with injuries at Palace, you mentioned there Benteke, also one of the latest casualties. He joins Cahill, Scott Dann, Jeffrey Schlupp, Andros Townsend, Joel Ward, amongst others in that treatment room. In January then, what's the priority? Where do they need to strengthen most?
Oh, everyone knows that. They need a centre forward without a shadow of doubt to put the ball in there. Jordan Ayew's doing well, but he can either play on the right or the left. And their best signing needs to be to keep Wilfried Zaha. He's their main man at the moment, but eventually he will go. If it's not January, he'll be gone at the end of the season. So I think they need probably a midfielder and a fullback, but definitely a centre forward. That is where Roy Hodgson will be looking to spend money in January. You need a centre forward to score you between 10 to 15 goals to stay in the Premier League.
Southampton, it's got to be said, got injury issues of their own. Sofiane Boufal, though, is fit again. He came off the bench against Chelsea after struggling with a toe injury sustained when he accidentally ran into his kitchen table at home. Personally, that's one of the most bizarre injuries I've heard of. What about you, Steve? What's your most pathetic injury you've had?
Oh, I've never had a pathetic injury. Never had one. I've played for anything, me. No, I'm joking. No, I've never done anything like that. I've heard some funny ones. Wasn't the famous one, the Rio Ferdinand one, resting his leg on the coffee table and strained his medial ligaments or something like that? Look, it happens. I'd ask the question. I'm sure you can play with a stubbed toe.
Michael Kiteley, I mean, you've had some very serious injuries, but is there anything like toe stubbing that's kept you out for a week or so at a time?
No, I wasn't very fortunate with injuries, but no, I never had any silly injuries. But it is weird, as a footballer, when you drop something, you automatically use your foot to control it. Yeah. And I do remember dropping a glass once and controlling it with my foot and thinking, why have I just done that?
That could have ended very badly.
Yeah, thankfully I didn't get injured through it, which was surprising because I was made of glass for a couple of years.
Clinton, what about you?
Nah, never. I'm sensible. I'm the most sensible out of all, everyone in this conversation. I'm the most sensible, and that's a big lie. But no, I'm not. No, I've been lucky enough and fortunate enough not to anything like that. But a stubbed toe, I definitely want to play for a stubbed toe. I think too many footballers nowadays, you got to go through the pain. How many times do you play when you're 100% fit? So I wouldn't be missing a game for a stubbed toe. That's for sure.
If I remember rightly, I think I remember an incident where Dave Besant, you remember the old Wimbledon goalkeeper?
Yep.
I think he dropped a bottle of salad cream on his toe.
Should have been ketchup, John. I would have liked that story better.
John, whilst we were talking injuries there, toe stubbing, Wolves had a decent chance, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. The first big chance of the match, actually, for Wolves. Jimenez scooped the ball over the top, and Jota running onto it, stretching for it, just lifted it over the top of the bar, Clinton.
Yeah, it was a good chance. It was Jimenez's ball to Jota was ever so well. I think Mendy just done enough to put him off because he had to take it early with his left foot, but he still expected him to work the goalkeeper. But yeah, it is all Wolves at the moment.
John, you mentioned that City have made this change at half-time, bringing on the youngster Eric Garcia. What can you tell us about their shape?
Well, they've switched now to three central defenders. It's interesting now, from being 4-4-1 for the most part of the latter section of the first half after Ederson had been sent off, they've now just changed things again and have released De Bruyne to go forward a little more, with Mahrez having been taken off at half-time.
Yeah, and then Rodri and Bernardo Silva are doing most of the defending. So they tried to kind of match Wolves up with the three centre-halves. And this is where, if you're clever, I'm not telling Nuno what to do, but I don't think they need three centre-halves. So maybe you can sacrifice one of the centre-halves and bring on another attacking player, because Man City, they've told you what they're going to do by going to three centre-halves to try and match them up.
Yeah, it's like 5-3-1 now, with De Bruyne playing the ball through now. De Bruyne for Sterling into the box, lifts it over the goalkeeper and in. It's 2-0. The 10 men of Manchester City double their lead, and Raheem Sterling has just scored his 20th goal of the season for Manchester City, and how brilliantly taken it was.
And some Man City fans saying he wasn't in good form recently. That is a superb finish. That's a great ball from Kevin De Bruyne, who I said it don't matter if you've got 10 men. It's a great timing of the run from Sterling, and the composure, the finish is magnificent. I thought he was going to side foot, he just dinks it over Patricio. Brilliant finish from Raheem Sterling. Great goal from Man City.
And what the champions are doing tonight is giving us an object lesson in how to play a match when you've had a man sent off in the 12th minute. They now lead here against Wolves by 2-0.
Michael Kightly, I'd like to get your opinion from a Wolves perspective on that goal. You were shaking your head there, but Steve Morrison, from a City side of things, that is beautifully taken, isn't it, by Sterling?
Oh, it's an excellent goal. It's obviously something they've talked about at half-time, and it's what the great managers do. They find a way. He's changed his shape. Sterling's ran from deep, one pass, and it's a fantastic finish. And yeah, we had people questioning Sterling, but you can't question great players.
Michael Kightly, the bottom lip's out, you're puffing your cheeks.
Yeah, I'm just gutted. I think that's game over for me. Absolute masterclass from Pep. Changed the formation, controlled the game from as soon as the whistle went, really, and scored a great goal. And I think that's game over for me. I'm gutted.
No, Kites, I don't think it is game over, mate. Stay with it. If Wolves get the next goal,
Here's Mr. Positive.
I hope you're right, mate. I hope you're right.
Stay with it, mate. They'll create more chances, definitely.
Oh, the thing is about Wolves, they won't give up because they have got good character. They've gone behind in a lot of games this season and come back to win games or draw games, so they won't give up.
Well, what do they do to get back into this? They've appealed for a penalty there, haven't they, John? But it's not been given.
I'm not so sure about it. They're certainly appealing for it. Kyle Walker, he turned, and it was as Jota turned as well. I'm not sure how much. Well, his arms are up, but I mean, there's minimal contact from Kyle Walker as he's turned.
No, he tripped himself. You can see it there.
And
he's
thrown himself to the ground as well.
Himself,
yeah.
What do Wolves need to do to get back into this then, Michael?
They are checking. VAR is checking.
Are. Okay.
But my feeling would be that they would stick with Martin Atkinson's on-field decision, and it is indeed, it's no penalty.
No penalty. Michael Kightly, what do Wolves need to do here? I know you're saying, in spirit they're not going to give up, but tactically, or what does Nuno need to do here?
Well, I think, as Clinton said earlier, I think they need to take a centre-half off now. Obviously, they've only got Sterling up front, really, and De Bruyne supporting. So bring a centre-half off and bring another striker on. Because if they keep the same formation, I can't see them getting back in the game.
Well, the time just approaching 9 o'clock on 5 Live Sports. It is all kicking off now at Molineux. Some frustration, certainly from the Wolves players. They find themselves 2-goal behind now to Manchester City. John Murray, what's happened there just before we go?
Yeah, close thing from Jimenez on the edge of the box. Curling shot that was narrowly over the angle of post and bar. Wolves feeling, though, that it had taken a deflection and that it should have been a corner.
And it did. It took a deflection of Fernandinho. It should have been a corner. The Wolves fans feel hard done by at the moment, but they still are creating chances, so I don't think Wolves are out of this game at the moment.
But Manchester City, the 10 men of Manchester City, leading by the 2 goals from Raheem Sterling, 2-0.
Here with me in the studio, Steve Morrison and Michael Kightly. They're the voices of John Murray and Clinton Morrison at Molineux, where Wolves are behind. Manchester City leading by 2-0 there. We'll be back just after the news on 5 Live Sport with Giuliano Casadei.
On digital, BBC Sounds, smart speaker and online.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Kazakhstan will hold a day of national mourning tomorrow after a plane crash shortly after takeoff in freezing conditions. At least 12 people have been killed, but most of the 100 passengers and crew survived. An investigation is underway now. Sally Gethin is an aviation analyst.
One of the operational hazards in very cold regions and in freezing temperatures is ice. And ice can be catastrophic if it builds up on an aircraft wing. It renders the aircraft unusable. It becomes non-aerodynamic.
Balfour Beatty is reportedly no longer working on the refurbishment of MI6's headquarters after floor plans of the building went missing. They weren't classified but did contain sensitive information about the layout of the complex in London. The President of the Supreme Court, Lady Hale, says legal aid cuts in England and Wales have caused serious difficulty for the justice system. Lady Hale, who retires next month, believes family courts are a particular issue. Malvika Jagannamon is a family law barrister at St Ives Chambers.
Certainly from my experience, the most obvious consequence of legal aid cuts within my practice area is the massive rise in litigants in person, so people representing themselves through the family justice system. And, it's hard to overstate how terrifying that must be for people in moments of extreme emotional distress.
Russia has put into service a new batch of strategic missiles, which it's claimed can travel 27 times faster than the speed of sound. The Avangard can make sharp manoeuvres and follow a lower trajectory, making it harder to detect. Nellie Goulding has made the final #1 of the decade with her version of River by Joni Mitchell. It's knocked Lad Baby's single off the top spot, which is down to number 57 after 1 week on the chart.
Well, I did have some sport headlines for you, but scrap that. There's been a goal at Molineux. Game on, John Murray.
Wolves are back in it because Adama Traore has just scored to make it Wolves 1, Manchester City 2. And Traore, what a finish. He received it 25 yards out, took it on to the edge of the box and hit a right foot shot right into the bottom corner, Clinton Morrison.
Great finish. I was screaming at him to pass it to Matt Doherty. He was on his outside, but he's full of confidence and he drills it past Bravo into the bottom corner. I told you, Kites, never give up, mate.
You're
I did tell you
that.
Game on.
So that's Traore's third goal against the champions this season. And it's Wolves 1, Manchester City 2, with still over half an hour to play.
Thanks, John. Here's the rest of your sport headlines. Going into day 3 of the first test, South Africa resume on 72 for 4. That's a lead of 175 runs over England. You can follow the action via the Cricket Social on the BBC Sport website. Elsewhere in football, the Dundee Derby is currently 1-1 in the Scottish Championship. Meanwhile, AC Milan have announced the re-signing of former Manchester United forward Zlatan Ibrahimovic. England midfielder Izzy Christensen has left Lyon to return to the Women's Super League. She's gone to Everton. Bristol are 7-6 down at home to Wasps in Rugby Union's Premiership. That is live on Sports Extra right now. And Tyson Fury will fight Deontay Wilder again on February 22nd. The WBC heavyweight title rematch will take place in Las Vegas. I'm Emma Saunders. You're listening to 5 Live Sport. We're here with you until 10 o'clock this evening. In the studio with me, Steve Morrison and Michael Kitely, who fist pumped the air when that Wolves goal went in. Adama Traore, Michael, once more delivering the goods.
Yeah, what a finish. Great goal. Just shows his confidence, doesn't it? He probably wouldn't take that shot on a year ago, and it's got Wolves right back into the game now, and hopefully they can go on and get another goal.
John Murray and Clinton Morrison at Molineux, where Wolves now do seem to be piling on the pressure, on the hunt for a second, John.
Yeah, it's quite a test this now for the champions. Wolves 1, Manchester City 2. So if it stays like this, Manchester City will go clear again of Leicester into second place. But they're going to have to battle for it, Clinton Morrison, and Wolves have got a free kick in a very good position. Yeah,
there's a lot of tired legs. Man City played some of them, they look really tired. I'd probably bring on Zinchenko and probably Phil Foden. They just need a bit of energy in the team at the moment. Man City, it's all Wolves at the moment, and if there's going to be another goal, it's going to be scored by Wolves.
Although, of course, with the sending off, he can only make one change, can't
he? Maybe Zinchenko, sorry.
Yeah.
I forgot about the sending off.
But Wolves have got this free kick over towards the left-hand side, which is driven in, and it comes off Walker's head and is caught by Claudio Bravo. So it remains Wolves 1, Manchester City 2.
Thank you, John. We'll continue to drop in at Molineux over the next half an hour as that game does come to a conclusion. But turning our attention to this weekend's fixtures, Arsenal host Chelsea on Sunday in a game that is significant for lots of reasons. It's Mikel Arteta's first home game in charge of Arsenal, and Chelsea, of course, themselves looking to bounce back from a disappointing Boxing Day defeat against Southampton. Let's take a look at things from an Arsenal perspective first then. It was a 1-1 draw that game against Bournemouth on Boxing Day. But he did seem to get a good reception, didn't he, from the fans, Arteta, Michael?
Yeah, I think he's going to. I think obviously he's got the respect from the Arsenal fans because he played there and he was a really good player for Arsenal, and also the fact that he's been nurtured from probably the best manager in the world in Pep Guardiola. So I think the fans will get behind him, and the game they were a lot better. Arsenal, they looked like Arsenal of old a little bit. They created a lot of chances. I think the most that they've created all season. I think so. It was a good performance. Obviously they didn't win. But it's a big game this weekend, and Chelsea are not in great form, but they're probably pleased that it's away from home at the minute.
What is success for Arsenal this weekend? As a result, will they be really looking at all 3 points, given the run of form that Chelsea have been in? Or what do you think they can expect to get out of this game, Steve?
Yeah, of course, look, and they're at home. Arteta would love a win at home, his first match. Chelsea are in a bad little run of form, but I think the problem you have is that's been the problem with Arsenal for years. They can't defend. So
hold that thought a second, because Wolves do have a free kick in a dangerous position, John.
Yeah, it was very rashly given away by Otamendi, who's just very late with the challenge on Neves, but it was swung in from the left-hand side by João Moutinho and headed away by Otamendi, who committed the foul, and he was yellow carded for that too, Clinton Morrison.
Yeah, he was. It was a rash tackle. He doesn't need to make them tackles, Otamendi. Just stand up, but Jota done well, and as I said, it's all Wolves at the moment. I can see Wolves getting an equaliser, ain't even going on and winning this game at the moment, because Man City are struggling to get out of their half.
Into the last half hour now. Wolves 1, Manchester City 2.
Go on, Steve, carry on, pick up where you left off there.
Yeah, I just think Arsenal have had a problem for years. It's been amazing looking from the outside in and seeing them not put it right, and you'd like to think Arteta's going to go in there and he's going to try and get some defenders, because that's been their problem for years. They've always been able to score goals, they've always been great going forward. They can't get the ball at the back of the net. Chelsea are very good going forward as well. They've got some great attacking players. So look, it'll be interesting. It'll be a very interesting game to watch. It'll be one of those games you sit down and watch and you enjoy, because you can have lots of attacking play. But yeah, there's been a problem at Arsenal for years, and Arteta needs to put that right.
It's not just the defence though, is it, Michael? I mean, Arteta said it himself. We have to build the right culture. It's my job to convince everybody this is how we're going to live. Changing the culture, it's not something that happens overnight, is it? So, A, how does he do that? And B, how patient have the fans got to be here with him?
Yeah, they've got to be patient. And, everyone jumps on that bandwagon that they can't defend. And, yeah, they can't, and they do need some defenders, but it comes from the front. You look at all the top teams, you look at Liverpool, the way that they play, and you look at City, how Aguero works for the team. They need to start getting their front players defending from the front. And I know they don't want to do that because they're attacking players, but people like Ozil, he's a luxury for Arsenal, and they can't afford to have any luxuries. So they need to give Arteta time. He'll know that, Arteta, from being at City and how City play. So he'll try and stamp that authority on Arsenal. And as you said, he needs time to build on that, and he needs a couple of transfer windows to get those players. But they also need to, they need to build from the back and start keeping clean sheets. But they need to get their front players working. So as a team, they're harder to break down because they're so easy to score against at the minute.
Clinton, you've been in loads of dressing rooms. How easy or difficult is it to change the atmosphere? I mean, is it as easy as just getting these big personalities on side like Ozil, which from that opening game, it does look as if Arteta has got a tune out of him. So how easy are these things done?
It's difficult, but obviously you got to respect the manager. I'm talking about as a player, and you can see Ozil when I'm not going to say he's a luxury player because he's a very talented player, and he's on big money at Arsenal, so Arteta has to go in there and try and get the best out of him. You can't not play Ozil or put him in your squad. He's the highest, he is the highest paid player at Arsenal, so you want to get a tune out of him, and all he has to do is his work rate. No one's questioning his ability. His ability is second to none, but it's his work rate and it's his attitude. Like the other day when he comes off the pitch, young Smith Rowe's coming on, and you look at that and his reaction to coming off. No one likes getting substituted, but his reaction is not good enough. And there's a lot of things. I think you have to give Arteta time at Arsenal, because let's be honest, Arsenal are not going to get in the Champions League. I don't think they're hardly going to win anything this season. He needs a couple of transfer windows to make Arsenal into the team that they were many years ago, and it still might take, I think it's going to take 2 or 3 years to Arsenal get back to their best.
What about managers coming in over Christmas? Have either of you ever been in a dressing room when that's happened? Steve?
Yeah, I've been in a couple. It's a tough one. Look, at the end of the day, Arteta is going to go in there. He's going to want to build this culture. Hopefully, he's got time. I think he's got a 3.5-year deal, so it looks like they're going to give him some time. Getting players on side and things like that are really tough. But like with everything, you need to get results because it's a results business. And to build a culture, to build a winning culture, it's about winning games of football. And they need to do that. And you look at like Liverpool, they've always been good and worked hard, but until they changed their defence and got the right players in the right positions, that made them to the next level, and that's where Arsenal need to go now. And people like Ozil, are you ever going to get him to work hard? I don't know. You look at him at Real Madrid, he played in the Galactico team where they just had the ball and done everything all the time anyway. it's a tough job, but I think because they've given him the job, they've given him such a long contract, then obviously they're never going to get relegated. So they've got time to build. It's how long they're going to give him to try and build something. I think that's more of the question. How long are they going to give him? Are they going to give him a season and a half? Are they going to give him a season like they gave Pep, where it doesn't matter what you do this season, build, get the right players in, then we'll take the next year. Let's hope they do that.
You look at Pep, when Pep came to City, Aguero was going.
Yeah.
He said to Aguero, you either run for this team or you don't play, simple as that. And we're saying about Ozil, he doesn't want to run. Well, if he doesn't want to run, get him out. And I think Arteta will do that.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Ozil is a top player. With the ball at his feet, he can find passes, he can create goals, he can score goals. It's the other side of the game. And Pep came into Man City and he changed the philosophy of Man City and started with Aguero, their best player. So I think Arteta will come in and do exactly the same, and he'll say to these players, you either run for me or you don't, and you won't play, and we'll change the whole team. And that's what Arsenal need. For years now they've been soft as anything, and he's even said that himself, the softness of Arsenal. And I think he'll come in and I think he will change it, but it will take time.
I think that's the difference between a Pep Guardiola coming into Man City and...
Hold that thought a second, Steve, because there's been a change at Wolves and a chance, John Murray.
Yeah, Pep Guardiola has made his final change, and it's Kevin De Bruyne who's been substituted, and he walks swiftly to the side of the field here. Pep Guardiola talking to him. I can only presume, Clinton, he's explaining why he's made that decision.
He does not look happy. He does not look happy.
He was, when his number came up, he was looking at Pep and he was shaking his head. And even when he coming off and he's still muttering to, he's not happy, because you need him on the pitch. I believe he's the one who's going to create another chance. I know why he's brought Gundogan on, to be more solid, but he's not happy, and I find that a strange substitution from Pep. But
he's been superb again, and City have just had such a good spell.
Yeah,
playing with 10 men, and De Bruyne was right at the heart of that, as we see a shot from distance coming in from Roman Saiz, which is dragged well wide of the City goal. But De Bruyne playing centrally, then he's popping up on the right hand side, then he's popping up on the left hand side. He's put a lot into this game, and they do play Sheffield United on Sunday.
You are spot on, but I think this game's more crucial. All games are crucial, but I think they have to win this game. This is a must-win for Man City. Yeah, a lot of people saying the title race is over. We do believe that, but they have to beat this. This is a huge game. He can make changes for the Sheffield United game, and if he wants to rest De Bruyne, can bring in someone like Phil Foden. So I can understand why he's happy, but no footballer likes to come off, John, and it is probably the right decision. But at the time, you tell a footballer that, he's going to disagree with you.
So still 2-1 to Manchester City, and we are now into the last quarter of the match.
John, thank you. We were talking Arsenal there. We'll move it on to Chelsea as the two go head-to-head this weekend at the Emirates. With Chelsea, it just seems to be a story of inconsistency this season. It is quite difficult to put your finger on exactly what it is, but there does seem to be a pattern in that they're not necessarily getting the results at home, Michael Kitely. It's easy to point the finger maybe at the younger players not performing on the big stage at home, but how true do you think that is?
No, I don't think that's true. I think obviously when Chelsea play at home, and played there myself, you sit behind the ball and you try and defend, and they're finding
with a shot from the edge of the area. He was opening up for Traore again, edge of the box, trying to work a position onto his left foot, hit the shot, but it was straight at Claudio Bravo.
Yeah, it was good play. If anyone's going to score again, it's going to be Wolves, and it is Traore. He looks the danger man. He cuts inside Mendy as a left foot shot, but it's a straight at Bravo. But he does look lively, and he does look the most likely for Wolves at the moment.
Wolves chasing that game at Molineux. They're 2-1 down at the moment to Man City. About 20 minutes or so left in that game. Go on, Michael.
Yeah, I was just saying, when Chelsea play at home, teams come there and they sort of park the bus, and I don't know whether Chelsea have got that kind of player that can open teams up, like a David Silva that can open someone up.
Unlock a game when they're,
Yeah, and when they play away from home, Chelsea, they can play with that little bit more freedom. They can hit teams on the break with the pace that they've got in Willian and Mounts and Abraham. So I think it suits them playing away from home. And I think, now that they can go out and spend in January, I think they will be looking for that kind of player that can unlock doors, because they haven't really got it. They've got some passers in midfield, but no one that's really going to hurt you.
Clinton, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree. I think they do need to do that. And also, I think they need to bring in a left back. I think they struggle massively with left back, but they do need that creative spot. Mason Mount can do it, though. He can play in that number 10 role, but there's a lot of onus on his young shoulders at the moment. But I definitely think in January Frank needs to spend some money, because there is a problem home matches. If Chelsea don't score after 20 minutes, half an hour, I bet Chelsea fans are worrying that it's not going to be their day, and that's how it's been going for them for the last few weeks at home. They've not been getting results, and Southampton was a great result for Southampton. No one would have thought Southampton would go there and beat Chelsea 2-0.
Steve, how much of it, though, do you think money and spending in January will solve the issue? Lampard said at the weekend, he called it the same story. He said he wanted more personality from his players. What do you think that tells you?
I think he wants someone to be like him, take the game by the scruff of the neck and score a goal, because that's what he used to do. And
so the quality's there. He just needs more from his players.
Yeah, of course. No, I think they're going to be a team in a minute, because they've got some young players, and a lot of them have been Championship for a few years, and this is their first real season in the Premier League. They're going to have some inconsistencies. They're going to go on a run of games where their form's really, really good and they're high energy and they're scoring goals, Tammy's scoring goals and stuff like that, and then they're going to have little periods like this. But I think spend a bit of money. Look, last year and in previous seasons, if they needed someone to unlock a defence, they just rang up Hazard and said, can you turn it on? And haven't got that player anymore. So look, they'll spend some money in in January, and we'll see what happens, because on paper they've got a very, very good team.
Is there an argument to be had that Willian is in some ways benefiting from the absence of Eden Hazard? Because there's certainly been moments this season that he seems to have really, really come to life, been at his best. The stats, 4 goals this season, 3 assists. He's 31. His contract expires June 2020. Do you think Chelsea should be looking at giving him a new deal?
I think the word you used is moment. So he has moments. It's not consistent.
You don't see it consistently enough.
What we played 18, 19 games. You just said he's scored 4 goals. That's not.
You're expecting more of a return.
Of course you are. That's not a top number 10 or wherever he plays, number 11 in the Premier League. That's a very average one. You look at the best teams in the league and their front three, how many goals they've scored. That's the levels he needs to be hitting, and he's trying to fill the void by Hazard. Well, scoring 4 and having a few assists is nowhere near that.
Another change at Molineux, John Murray?
Yeah, free kick for Wolves. Moutinho plays it in. Near post flick, just beyond the far post. So close. Roman Saiz, I think it was, who got his head to it, and he collapsed to his knees and put his hands on his head because it was so close. Just the crucial glance across goal, but beyond the far post.
I was waiting for the net to ripple, John. He done everything right. The timing was right, but he just flicked it and it's just gone past the post. It's agonisingly wide. It's a great ball from Jean Moutinho, and he does ever so well. I think if he leaves it, Jimenez maybe scores, but it's very unlucky.
And that coming just after the change, Emma, which is Wolves first. So Pep Guardiola's made all 3 of his, and then Nuno Espirito Santo just now bringing on Ruben Vinagre for Johnny Otto.
Thank you. So Wolves still chasing the game at Molineux. City 2-1 up there. We'll continue to keep you across that. But as we continue our look ahead to this weekend's action, Burnley host Manchester United on Saturday afternoon. Burnley come into the fixture on the back of a defeat at Everton. Man United, on the other hand, won 4-1 at home against Newcastle. So we'll start by talking about United. Not such a plus point from that game. Scott McTominay sustained knee ligament damage in that win over Newcastle. Steve, he seems to be quite a key player now in that squad. How important is it for United it's not serious?
Yeah, he's been excellent. Like, obviously, Pogba's been out. He's filled that void and he's been great. He's obviously most probably been one of the first names on the team sheet. Be really interesting now because Pogba's just come back into the frame, so we'll see how big a loss it is, because effectively Paul Pogba's supposed to be one of the best midfielders in the world. So we'll see what happens now. He's got his chance back in the team now, Paul Pogba, because McTominay's out, and hopefully it's not for too long because no one likes to see anyone injured. But yeah, no, they're in a rich frame of form. They've done really, really well last couple of games, and it'll be interesting because they had been struggling playing against teams they let them have the ball. So that's exactly what Burnley will do.
On that Paul Pogba note, how crucial do you think he could be to this United team going forward, Michael?
Yeah, very crucial. On his day, he is, the top midfielder in the world, but he doesn't have his day as much as he should. And I think McTominay being injured will be a big blow for Paul Pogba as well, because I think they play better together, because McTominay would do some of his dogged work. And now, obviously, he's going to have to rely on Fred to do that. So I just hope McTominay's injury isn't, when you say knee ligament, the first thing you think of is cruciate. So hopefully he hasn't done that and he can get back soon.
At the other end of the pitch for United, Mason Greenwood scored in that win over Newcastle with a thunderous strike. It was his 9th of the season in all competitions. Steve, as a forward yourself, how much do you rate him?
Oh, he's excellent. Look, he can put the ball in the back of the net with ease, and that's something you can't buy. And he's a very, very good talent. Let's hopefully he's nurtured in the right way, and he keeps progressing and building, and he becomes a Man United legend, because they like to have good forwards who can put the ball in the back of the net. We've had people like Rooney, Van Nistelrooy, Cole, York, Sheringham, players like that, Solskjaer, the manager. So
Clinton Morrison, can you see Greenwood taking that path, becoming a United legend?
Oh, very close to a Wolves equaliser. Free kick again on the left-hand side that Moutinho swung in. It took a near-post glance, and then Matt Doherty at the back post, there was a defender with him, and he headed it over the top of the crossbar. I think, was it Rodri who was with him?
He just does enough, Rodri, at the back post to put off on Matt Doherty, because it was a great flick on. No, it was. He wins it and flicks it onto Matt Doherty at the back post, so really good defending.
Wolves putting some severe pressure on Manchester City now. City still lead by 2-1. You can answer the question, Clinton. Can you remember what it was?
And Mason Greenwood, very good, very good striker. I agree with Steve. I think he could go on to be a Man United legend. He scores all types of goals. And I like my centre forwards in the 6-yard box, and he seemed to score a lot of his goals in the 6-yard box. I know he scored a great goal against Newcastle, and that was outside the box. But he scores goals, and he's really good. I like him. He's got a big future.
Well, only Jadon Sancho with 12 goals has scored more across Europe's big 5 leagues than Mason Greenwood. That's teenagers, by the way. Solskjaer has compared him with Cristiano Ronaldo, saying Cristiano can score just as many with his left and they're proper strikes, but Mason can curl the ball with both feet. He is an exceptional finisher.
Emma, slow down. Did he really? Hold on, he compared him to Cristiano Ronaldo.
Well, no, Clinton, that was my next question. Is that dangerous then to make those kind of comparisons?
That's massively dangerous. Just compare him to himself. He's his own person. He don't need to be compared to anybody. Ronaldo's one of the best in the world. He is the best. Him and Messi, them two are the best. That is too much praise. Sorry, I was stuttering there because our moves are in there.
Yeah, go on, John. Bring us up to date.
Yeah, well, it was a Cristiano Ronaldo style run by Adama Traore from the halfway line. He had options either side, and when he delivered it, Jimenez and Doherty rather got in one another's way, and it came to nothing.
Clinton, just going back to that point though, do you think any part of Ole's doing that deliberately?
Yeah, maybe
making those
so,
comparisons.
It's so hard. If you make them comparisons and he doesn't live up to being Ronaldo, how does that look? You shouldn't. I just don't think making comparisons like that are right at the moment. We all know he's an exceptional talent. Just leave him be, and we'll just watch his progress, and he'll score goals. Did anyone do that with Marcus Rashford? Because Marcus Rashford came through just like Mason Greenwood. Don't make no comparisons. We know the young boy can finish, and he's got a very, very bright future, as I said many times.
Where were you at 18, Clinton? Who were people comparing you to?
No, I was just scoring goals.
You were just Clinton Morrison.
Yeah, I was
doing
just
your
Clinton
thing.
Morrison. No, to be fair, Steve Bruce did compare me to Andy Cole, and I wish I had half a good career as what Andy Cole was, because he's a proper striker. But I didn't do too bad, so I'll take that on the chin.
Steve, what about you at 18?
At 18?
Were comparisons being made, or where were you with your game?
No, I was getting shouted out for letting Marco Gabbiadini beat me in a 12-minute run. So, I was struggling, hence why I ended up in non-league 4 years later. I was getting compared to Time and Envy's door staff. I think I was in there that often. I do agree with Clinton. I think you have to let people be. You can't be comparing people to anyone really, but especially people like Ronaldo. Look, they're once in a generation players like Messi. You can't compare anyone to Messi. Leave them be. Mason Greenwood, go and do your stuff, keep scoring goals, and see how far it take you, because scoring goals it gets you a status in football, and it will get you big contracts and big moves and loads of publicity and England call-ups, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, just concentrate on himself. And it's poor from Solskjaer, really, because you think you need to keep them grounded more than allow them to start believing he's going to be the next Ronaldo. There's nothing wrong with giving him a bit of confidence, but Ronaldo's a bit much for me.
Let's take a look at the Burnley side of things then, ahead of this fixture as they host Man United at Turf Moor this weekend. Michael, it'll be interesting to get your take on Sean Dyche. I know you know him well. He no longer seems to figure in these conversations, does he, when the top jobs are being mentioned? Why do you think that is? It is like he slipped down the pecking order a bit.
I think because he doesn't, his style of play, which people think, and just the way that he is, he's not, attractive to the top jobs. And what he's done at Burnley is remarkable, really, when we think about it. But he does deserve a chance at a top club. He could go into a club and sort them out. He could go into Arsenal and shore them up, definitely. But he doesn't play the most attractive way, but he plays with what he's got at Burnley. So if he went elsewhere and went to a club that had, better attacking players, he might be able to, get a tune out of them. But to be honest, I think Sean Dyche is pretty happy at Burnley.
Yeah.
I think he likes the club. He runs the club from top to bottom. I think he had a chance to go in Everton a couple of years ago and turned it down. So I think he's just made for Burnley at the minute.
Jimenez is there. It's 2-2. They've found the equaliser. And Adama Traore robbed the ball from Benjamin Mendy. He was far too casual, the Manchester City left back, inside his own penalty area, trying to let it roll out for a goal kick. But Traore just nipped it away from him, rolled it across the 6-yard box, and Wolves' leading scorer, Raúl Jimenez, inside the 6-yard box, scored to make it 2-2, and they've come from 2-0 down against the champions, albeit with 10 men, City, and it's now level.
Poor defending, John. It's absolutely... I don't know what Mendy's doing. He's trying to shield the ball against one of the strongest wingers and players in the Premier League. Clear your lines. I don't want my defenders overplaying, but credit to Adama Traore. He tells him to get on the weights, throws him off, does ever so well, rolls it, and that's where you want your centre-forward. 6-yard box and a simple tap-in for Jimenez. Credit to Adama Traore. Poor defending from Mendy. Defend, that's what your job is there to defend, not to take chances, but credit Adama Traore.
A crucial and costly error by Benjamin Mendy. Jimenez's 17th goal of the season in all competitions, his 8th in the Premier League, and it's Wolves 2, Manchester City 2 with 7 minutes to play.
And the former Wolves winger Michael Kightly in the studio with us has jumped for joy at that. Can they get a winner? Well, I can't wait for Michael's reaction if they can. Steve Morrison also with us in the studio. John Murray and Clinton Morrison at Molineux. We've got about 8 minutes to go there in the game between Wolves and Man City. It's 2-2 as it stands. There could well be another goal in this, though. We'll be back there very shortly. But first, it's time for the news on 5 Live with Dottie McLeod.
On digital, BBC Sounds, smart speaker and online.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Good evening. The President of Kazakhstan has declared a day of national mourning tomorrow following a plane crash in which 12 people died. Dozens of others survived the accident, which happened in poor weather in the city of Almaty this morning. A contract awarded to the building firm Balfour Beatty to refurbish the headquarters of MI6 has been terminated. It's after the company lost floor plans of the building, which had sensitive details. The sister of George Michael has died at the age of 55, exactly 3 years to the day after her brother. Her family say Melanie Panayiotou passed away suddenly at her home in North London on Christmas Day. And Ellie Goulding has scored the final number 1 of the decade with her version of Joni Mitchell's River.
And now we're going to go straight back to Molineux. Last we heard it was 2-2. Jimenez pulling back with the equaliser for Wolves. Any sign of a winner, John Murray?
It's been quite a game this. Wolves 2, Manchester City 2. We've played 84 minutes. Manchester City, even though they had their goalkeeper Ederson sent off in the 12th minute took a 2-0 lead. Raheem Sterling with a twice taken penalty, VAR involved in that. Sterling scored again, brilliant finish early on in the second half, but Wolves have stormed back into it as Manchester City have tired. Remember, Pep Guardiola substituted Kevin De Bruyne. Adama Traore scored the first and then set up the second for Raul Jimenez, and now it's right in the balance. Clinton Morrison.
I can only see one team winning it, John, and that's Wolves. Wolves are the team that are pushing. Man City can't get out of their half. They literally can't get out. Sterling hasn't had a touch, but that's because they've not got the midfielders on who can find that pass. So that's why I'm always surprised why they took Kevin De Bruyne off. I would have kept him on for something like this. They need to go and win this game. A draw's not good enough for Man City, but credit to Wolves. Wolves have been brilliant in the second half.
And still, it's almost like a Sherlock Holmes film with the fog drifting over the top of the stands. It's true drama in the Premier League on a Friday night, this, and if it stays like this, Manchester City would go above Leicester on goal difference, but Liverpool would be 13 points clear with a game in hand. It remains 2-2.
Well, the cameras here in the studio in Salford panned to the bench. We saw Kevin De Bruyne with a face like thunder. He was taken off in the 67th minute of the game, replaced with Gundogan. Steve Morrison, do you think Pep might have made a mistake there? Not something we see often, but
I think we're trying to pick holes in something that's as simple as Mendy's just got to clear the ball. So you can see why he's done it. He's tried to shore it up. They were going all right. If he doesn't make that mistake, it's fine. I think that's why Mendy won't be at Man City for much longer. I can't see him being... I don't think Pep's having him too much. I think he's playing him because he's got to at the minute. But that's a schoolboy error. That's a fundamental. Just deal with it. Deal with the ball. And we're not talking about why De Bruyne was taken off. And yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame for De Bruyne that he's come off and Gundogan's gone on, and he'll be sitting there thinking now, oh well, they shouldn't have taken me off. But there'll be reasons by what he's done, but I can't see the reason why Mendy didn't put the ball out.
yeah, it's a mistake from Mendy, a World Cup winner, not something you see often, Michael Kiteley, but credit where it's due to Wolves that have capitalised and taken an opportunity when it's been given to them.
Well, I said that about Wolves. The character of this team is really, really good. They don't know when they're dead, and they keep going till the end. And to be fair to Clinton, he's been doing this a long time, a lot more than me. He called it, didn't he? He said they're still in this game. But, I thought that City would go on and win this game 3 or 4-0 because they would hit Wolves on the attack. So I agree with Clinton, coming off, bringing De Bruyne off has really suffered. That's made Man City suffer, and Wolves have just gone on strength to strength. And as the boys said, it looks like now there's only going to be one winner, and that will be Wolves. Hopefully they can get it.
Well, if they can get it, it'd be quite something, because here's a stat. They have scored in each of their last 17 games, but never more than twice. So it's not usual of Wolves this season to get 3 goals, but they are pushing for a third. Just to bring you up to date with scores elsewhere this evening, in the Scottish Championship, the Dundee Derby has finished 1 goal apiece. United's lead at the top is up to 14 points. And Wasps have won 26-21 at Bristol in Rugby Union's Premiership. John Murray, last few minutes of this game then. Are Wolves really pushing for that winner? And more importantly, certainly for Michael Kiteley, are they going to get it?
Well, they've had enough chances to score probably 4 goals in the second half. Good chances as well. But we've got a stoppage here because Otamendi has just gone down on the edge of the penalty area. And so Wolves are just having to gather themselves. We're on the 89th minute now, and Wolves, they've put such a lot, Clinton, into this second half against the 10 men of Manchester City. It's been quite a tour de force actually by Wolves, and not untypical of the way that they've played here against many of the big teams in the Premier League since they've been promoted.
Yeah, they've been excellent against Tottenham last week. They were excellent. They didn't deserve to lose that game. They dominated the football, and this is Wolves. Wolves have come a long way in a short space of time, and that's credit to Nuno. And
it could open up for Doherty. Left foot. 3-2 Wolves.
What a goal that is.
It looks as though they've won it. And it's the right wing back, Matt Doherty, playing a 1-2 on the edge of the area, and the finish was outstanding. Past Claudio Bravo's dive, and Manchester City, the champions, led 2-0 here at Molineux with 10 men. But Wolves have just gone and gone and gone and gone at them, and now they lead by 3-2.
That is a great goal. It just stopped me in mid-sentence there, but brilliant. He plays a 1-2 with Jimenez. Jimenez touch back to Doherty is class, but Matt Doherty doesn't play like a fullback. He plays like a right winger. That is a composed finish, left foot. He bends it well back around Bravo. Brilliant fullback. He's been one of the best fullbacks this season and thoroughly deserves his goal. He always wants to get forward and support Adama Traore, and Wolves thoroughly deserve this. And Michael Kiteley, I told you, mate. I did tell you.
You did tell me. Get in there.
Clinton's
4
right
minutes
there.
of added time we're into.
Thanks, John. Clinton's right there, though. The way he sort of slalomed through those players there, Doherty, it's not something you see too often from players like him that play as fullbacks. But I guess that's what playing in this Wolves team does, right?
Well, I said that before the game. You know, we're talking about Trent, and I said that Doherty's up there with Trent as one of the best right backs in the league. And I also said everything that Wolves do well normally comes down the right-hand side, and all 3 goals have come down the right-hand side. Traore's scored one, made one, and now Doherty's just scored an unbelievable goal. And what a win this is going to be for Wolves.
Well, don't hold your breath. 4 minutes to go.
Bernardo Silva with a shot that's deflected, which carries it wide by 3 or 4 yards. But Bernardo Silva, who's been outstanding, I must say, for Manchester City. It opened up from in the D.
It did. It's not over yet, Man City corner, but it did. It was good defending, and it just went past the post.
Well, if it does stay like this and Wolves do win here, they're 3-2 up at the moment with 3 or 4 minutes to go. Man City have themselves a corner. A number of players have gone up to it, but it's come back out.
Raheem Sterling's bundled over by Traore, who just threw himself into Sterling. I think Traore sensed the danger there and thought that Sterling was about to pull the trigger, so he fouled him.
Yeah, it was a great first touch from Sterling, and he just got that half a yard in front of Traore, and Traore kind of just barges him and he falls over. You knew straight away as soon as he felt the contact he was going to go down, and he's grabbed the ball. He wants his hat-trick, and he wants to get Man City level.
Well, if it does stay this way, I was about to say it's Pep and Man City's 5th defeat this season, Steve.
Yeah, we're not going to win the league in this day and age by losing that many games, are you? So, yeah, we'll see what happens. They've got free kick on the edge of the box now, so I don't want to upset Kites if I get my...
Go on, John,
wrong,
back over to you. There's a key chance here.
Well, Clinton, absolutely correct. Raheem Sterling's on a hat-trick here. Ilkay Gundogan said that he wanted to take it, that he's been sent away with a flea in his ear. Benjamin Mendy has come up and had a little word with Raheem Sterling, but there's only one candidate to take it.
It is, and it wouldn't surprise me if he puts it in the top corner. It just wouldn't surprise me. He told Gundogan to get away. I want to take it, he has got it in him to pull it in the top corner.
4 minutes of added time. We've already played almost 2 of them. It's 3-2 to Wolves. What a great moment of theatre this is at this great football ground, Molineux, with Sterling on a hat-trick, coming up with a free kick and curling it onto the top of the crossbar, and it bounces over the top into the Stan Cullis stand.
To
the relief, well, not only of Michael Kiteley, but all of the Wolves fans in all gold and black inside the ground here.
I thought, I did think he would go in the top corner, hit the crossbar, so I got that one wrong, Kites, but yeah, you can breathe now.
Well, it was close though, Michael. We must be into our last minute or so there. Nuno on the touchline, sort of rotating his hands there to his players, saying, come on, let's go. We're going to have, I think they're going to make another sub. John, is that right?
Yeah, this is Wolves' final change, and you're right, Emma, we're in the 4th minute of added time, and Raúl Jiménez is getting a rousing reception, having scored the goal that made it 2-2, and he's being replaced by Ryan Bennett, who is trotting onto the field, and Wolves now just trying to see it through the final seconds. We're into the last 30 seconds of this match. What rattling good entertainment it's been, and the early sending off really, that's where the drama started, and that was in the 12th minute. And we've had a little bit of everything in this game, and Manchester City, with the clock ticking down, Sterling trying to win the ball back, but Wolves just knocking it around. Now it's sent forward to Adama Traore. He's been one of the main players for Wolves in this comeback victory, as it will be. The ball's played now to the right-hand side to Neto. Neto and Vinagre did exceptionally well once they came on for Wolves on the left-hand side. And Wolves knocking it around, and it now remains only for Martin Atkinson to decide how many more seconds there will be played. We've played 30 seconds over the 4 minutes, and there was a substitution, so I think this will be it, Clinton.
Yeah, it will be it. And Wolves thoroughly deserve it for their second half showing. They've been excellent second half.
Still we play on though. The throw-in taken back to Rodri. Now it's out to Garcia, who allows it to run out there to the right-hand side. Manchester City have got to go forward, otherwise they're going to lose again. They've lost. Wolves have done the league double over Manchester City this season. They've beaten the champions home and away, and what a win this was. Even though Manchester City have played most of the match with 10 men after goalkeeper Ederson was sent off in the 12th minute, but they were 2-0 down. 2 goals from Raheem Sterling, and they've come back to win 3-2 with 3 goals in the second half from Traore, Jimenez and Doherty.
Yeah, they've been excellent, to be fair. Man City will look at things and say things went against them. Ederson should he have been sent off? Yes, he should. He made the wrong decision to come off his line, and he did catch Diego Jota. So I think Wolves have been the better team anyway. Man City started well. Maybe with 11 men it would have been a different game. You have to credit Man City because they went into a 2-goal lead and looked really good with 10 men. But you have to credit Wolves massively. So being 2-0 down and showing the spirit and the desire. And in Adama Traore, I think they had their standing player on the pitch this evening.
Let me just say as well, don't forget this is Wolves' 33rd match of the season in all competitions. They've played 4 more matches than Manchester City, and at the halfway point now for them of this Premier League season, 19 matches played. They've just with this win moved above Manchester United, Sheffield United and Tottenham, and they're 2 points off 4th place Chelsea, the Champions League places.
And at the start of the season, they started off so poorly, Wolves. Everyone was worried about having a Europa League hangover. And I think they've got a chance of even winning that Europa League. I think they can do well in the Premier League.